All right, the question today is, how do we break the alcohol cycle? Um, I think first of all, we have to define what we're talking about here. What do you mean by the alcohol cycle? That could mean a ton of different things. Um, for some people, it could mean they want to be able to drink alcohol while staying in control of it, or they want to drink alcohol just like everyone else without being controlled by it, right? It could be a cycle of binge drinking and then followed by regret. It could be a cycle of drinking to cope with something or to avoid something or to reward yourself with something, also followed by regret. Right? It could be giving into social pressure and then wishing you hadn't. So, it could be a million different things, right? All I'm saying with this is I can't help you with any of those things. This is when a person wants to use alcohol as a tool, as a means to an end. They want to continue to use alcohol. They just don't want the regret, or they don't want any of the other consequences of using alcohol. I lived my life for many, many years under those circumstances, mostly trying to control my drinking through moderation, right? And that for me is like trying to eat your cake and have it at the same time. So for this video, I'm going to presume that what you mean by breaking free from the cycle is you want to break free from the alcohol being a part of your life or something similar to that. You want to get rid of the alcohol and you want to live your life and love living your life that way without any alcohol, right? A very generalized three-part response that we give to this, it's one that we use a lot in the Habits V2 program, is stop the flow, do the work, move on, right? When we're talking about breaking the alcohol cycle, it's in that last part, in the moving on part, that we mean. That's the ultimate objective, right? You're able to move on because you've broken alcohol's hold on your body, on your mind, in your life, and you're at the stage where you don't give a crap about alcohol anymore. You're loving living your life without alcohol, right? That's moving on, right? If your alcohol habit still holds an influence in your mind, in your life, then it's just not a possibility to get to that stage, right? Moving on means you don't need alcohol. You don't want it. You don't care about it. You wouldn't buy it. You wouldn't accept it for free. I wouldn't even buy it for somebody else, right? You don't have it in your house. You don't have it in your life. What other people do with their bodies, what other people put into their mouths, what they do with their lives, that's all up to them. For you, alcohol means nothing else. Like I said, I wouldn't buy alcohol for somebody else. I'm not into that anymore. That's moving on, right? That's the habit broken. That's the cycle broken. So that's the ultimate objective, right? Not the ultimate objective, but it's the ultimate objective in this scenario, right? Stop the flow, do the work, move on. You want to get rid of the alcohol, break the alcohol cycle, and you want to love living your life that way. The question is, how do we get there? And to answer that, we've got to go back to the beginning of that statement. Stop the flow, do the work, move on, right? Stop the flow. Stopping the flow is the first part. No more alcohol going into your mouth. And all we're concerned about at this stage, at the early stage of this, in the beginning, is to turn off that tap. We'll do the work later on of getting rid of the tap or ripping the piping out of the walls that's feeding the tap. But for now, all we're concerned about now is turning off the flow, right? Turning off that tap. And remember, when we're talking about stopping drinking alcohol, this is the stopping drinking alcohol part, turning off the flow, right? If you want to stop drinking alcohol, you don't put any more of this stuff into your mouth, you've achieved your aim, you've stopped drinking, right? It's a mistake to inflate this to more than what it is. And I hope that makes sense to you, right? Everything that is going to follow on from this, all the work that you have to do after this, in that do the work phase, it's got nothing to do with stopping drinking alcohol, except for the fact that you have to stop the flow of alcohol in order to move into that stage of doing the work. You can't do both things, You can't carry on drinking and do the work for getting rid of the habit. It just doesn't work like that, right? We first have to stop the flow, and everything else is about altering your thinking enough so that you never want to go back to using alcohol again. So, like I said, it's really worth repeating and letting this sink in. Once you stop the flow, you have completed your first objective of stopping drinking alcohol, right? It's an important point. It's crucial, right? We can't conflate stopping drinking alcohol with everything that follows. They're just two completely different things. So as a caveat, I want to add a little caveat here for stopping the flow. A small minority of people, a very small minority of people, need help to stop the flow. If you think you're in that position, then go seek medical advice beforehand. If you're worried about it, go seek medical advice. That's the best advice that I can give you, right? So we've stopped the flow. What are we talking about when we're talking about the work? The work for me is about the journey, but it's also about the destination. You know, where do you want to end up? You know, everyone talks about the journey, getting on the journey, but there's no point in getting on a journey unless you figure out where it is that you want to go, right? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time or 10 years' time? You know, that's what we're moving towards. That's what you are doing the work for. That's what you're working towards. Seneca said, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is going to be favorable. Think about the winds as the opportunities that are going to present themselves, that are going to come your way because you've stopped drinking. Now, the idea of taking on this journey without a clear goal or a clear destination in mind, how are you going to know which way to go? You know, if you're presented with 10 different paths, how do you know which path to take? You know, there's the old saying of a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know which direction you're going to move when you take that first step, right? Which way do you direct your thinking? Which choices are you going to turn into decisions? Which actions are you going to take? Now, stopping the flow automatically opens up so many different possibilities, so much potential in your life. How do you know which opportunities you're going to take advantage of? How do you know which opportunities you're going to leverage? So a huge part of the initial work is just figuring that out for yourself. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? You know, is it impossible to figure out how you're going to get to an unknown destination? Kind of. You know, there's that's what we're going to be doing, you know, at the end of the day. But you need some direction, right? So let me pose a question to you just to bring this into perspective. And pause the video if you want to have a think about this. So apart from stopping putting the alcohol into your mouth, apart from having stopped the flow, right? If you take the day before you stop drinking alcohol and the day after, like I say, apart from there being no more alcohol the day after, in reality, what's different between those 2 days? Take out the emotions, take out the feelings, take out the discomfort, maybe some of the cravings. What has changed in reality? You know, what has really changed in your life from the day before to the day after? So that day, and you go through your first day, and on the second day, what's different? And the simple answer is not much, right? And it's a hard thing to accept that you don't change much from day one to day two, right? You're still in what we call the drinker's brain or the drinker's mind. And what that means is that your view of yourself, your view of your life, your view of your past and your present and your future, who you are, how you live, the choices that you make, all of your thoughts, all of these things are being filtered through a mind that is still under the influence, not of the alcohol anymore, but you're still under the influence of the alcohol habit, right? That habit is still there. It's still taking over. And there's no way you can change that. Not in the moment, right? It is what it is. This is everyone's default starting position. Everybody starts from here. You know, I was 30 years as a drinker, and, you know, when I stepped across that line to stop drinking alcohol, nothing changed except the fact that I wasn't putting drinking alcohol into my mind. I was still a drinker. I was still in that drinker's mind. Just because you've stopped the flow of the alcohol doesn't mean to say that you've stopped the thinking of the drinker, right? You know, in the long term, that's what we're aiming at. we're aiming at that kind of big change where you're no longer thinking about that. That's our ultimate aim, right? But in the short term, this is where you're at, and this is the kind of thing that threatens to keep you trapped in that alcohol cycle, because people don't get that they're still in that frame of mind, that drinker's brain. They're still in that habit that's been formed for many years, right? For me, as I said, over 30 years. So the first steps in this journey are going to be to undercut that influence and to start working on where you're going, working on your destination, working out who it is that you want to be in this life, working out exactly the positions, the specific areas that you want to go. And once we've generally figured out where you want to go, then you can start digging in and I think doing the real work of this, right? You've got rid of the influence of the alcohol habit. That's gone. It's mostly in your past. We're talking about an 80-10 rule, 80-20 rule, where 80% of the habit is in your past. You're still dealing with 20%, but it doesn't really have that much of an influence on you anymore. So the real work is where you're going through the mental and the emotional work, right? The work of breaking the alcohol habit proper and all the things that were supporting that. And then you're building more productive, more supportive habits that are going to move you towards a better future, right? You're working on building a life that you don't want to escape from, basically. But if we go back to the beginning again, breaking the alcohol cycle, you know what the alcohol cycle, you know that it's been broken when you can move on with your life without thinking about alcohol, without a thought about alcohol anymore. To get there, you first have to stop the flow. And then, and only then, can you truly start out on your journey, right? Turn off the tap, start on your journey. It's like walking through your door when you're going to the shops, or you're going on holidays, or you're going wherever. You first have to leave your home, right? So you first have to open the door, walk through it, close the door behind you. Same thing here. In the beginning, I think an authentic destination can be just that, to move towards a place where alcohol plays absolutely no part in your life. You know, think about that as being a good provisional destination for you, a good generalized idea about where you want to go. And at the very least, it's giving you a direction to take. You know, that journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's to take those first few steps and to get on this journey. That's it gives you a lot of momentum, and that's what we're trying to do in the beginning, right? In the meantime, the work that you do to change away from the drinker's mind is going to help you to align yourself more with a more personal, a more specific goal, a more specific destination that it's got everything to do with a real purpose in your life. You know, think about this like your 8-year-old self. This is a purpose that the 8-year-old version of you would recognize, and something that they would find valuable and worth pursuing, right? Strip away all the bullshit. That's what you should be aiming towards, right? And that's my idea of this anyway. So listen, to sum this up, to wrap it all up, I want to give you a free tool that I think can help you at the very least to get started on this journey. It's our beginner's guide to unplugging from alcohol. It's there to help you to be a little bit more comfortable in making that decision to stop the flow. Gives you some basic mindset strategies, some basic mindset changes. It's free. It's in the link in the description below, along with our program. So I'll leave it there for today. Take care of yourself. Keep the alcohol out of your mouth. Onwards and upwards. Take care. Bye now.